It was a thrill to shoot. They got it as practically invigorating as they could with a rig that shook violently without getting an actual sandworm. It was a dream to shoot that.
Holy fuck, this movie's good, bro. It's
Thank you.
Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine that, like, I've been saying this, but I imagine, like, when the original Star Wars trilogy came out and people saw those movies and walked out of that theater, is probably the same experience I had walking out of this film. It's absolutely phenomenal. Timothy, talk to me about Paul's moral dilemma in Dune 2, where he walks the fine line of seeking vengeance and fighting his enemies, but also without walking the line of prophecy that could lead to catastrophe, war, and chaos.
You just encapsulated it. He's torn in two directions. One that makes sense to him from perhaps a more human perspective, a path of responsibility to Chani, of personal growth, being held accountable the way you would be if you were accepted amongst a new people, adopted in some ways. And this other path that's almost the complete opposite, that's assertive and destructive and messianic and all things he's sort of reluctant to be. And at some point, he's put on a split path, and has to make a choice.
Austin, your portrayal of fate is mesmerizing and probably straight out of my nightmares. Can you talk about your preparation for that role and your approach to the role, and also finding Fade's voice?
It all started with reading the book. I reread it, and I'd read it when I was 15, and so that was exciting to get to crack that back open and know that I was going to go on this journey, and then just long conversations with Denis and hearing what his vision was, and he told me about the vision for Fade's aesthetic, and so that got my imagination going, and then we did makeup tests, and once I started feeling that and living within that look, I very quickly, thought that his voice needs to be different from mine in some way, and then it dawned on me that he would have grown up with the Baron, and the Baron being the one who has the most power, and how we end up soaking in through osmosis those traits of those people that we grow up with, but particularly those that we admire in some way, and so I was working with Tim Monach, who's sort of the godfather of dialect coaches, and he helped me to really just hone in on Stellan's voice, really, and what he does in the film, and then it's also just figuring out how his childhood shapes him into who he becomes. When you're raised in brutality, you have a necessity for violence in order to be able to survive. So that I think ends up changing the way that his mind is.
Yeah, Stellan said that when he was speaking to you on set, it was almost like he heard an echo. That's pretty wild.
That's cool.
Timothy, I hope I got this right. Look, in this movie, I didn't just watch it. I felt like I was experiencing it, like especially that sandworm scene. Yeah. Scene 62, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Talk to me. You guys shot this over 3 months. Can you talk about that experience? Because I felt like I was right there with you writing that sandworm.
Well, practically it was a different unit that was separate from the film. We called it the worm unit. And you would get pulled onto that unit 20, 30 minutes at a time, and they would slot the availabilities in relation to the main production schedule. And it was awe-inspiring. There was a wall this size of a shot list that they were dedicating, like you put 3 months to, for what's ultimately a 3-minute sequence.
Sure.
And but in this kind of conversation, it can sound perhaps silly, but it's actually one of the most affirming moments for Paul Atreides on his journey. It's sort of a crucial test for him to pass, one that Stilgar and Chani are wary of, because to this point, it's not really sure if this prophecy is one that he's fulfilling. He could fall off the worm, as many have before him. So it was a thrill to shoot. They got it as practically invigorating as they could with a rig that shook violently without getting an actual sandworm. And it was a dream to shoot that. Yeah.
It was incredible. I mean, I will go back to watch this movie just for that scene alone. It's absolutely amazing. But look, this film, masterpiece. Incredible job all around. I can't say enough great things about this.
Thank you.
I want to thank you guys for your time.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
You guys are incredible.